Greetings to the Crispell middle schoolers. This is Ben Noll coming to you from New Zealand. I'm sorry I couldn't be present today at your career day, but I am 8,500 miles away after all, so I thought it would be better to just try and record a video for you. So today, my wife Kate is helping out, and she is going to deliver the interview questions. Now, you guys sent a lot of questions, I think over 100 in total, so I'd probably be here all day if I was answering all of them. So I picked about a dozen that were the most commonly asked questions. So I hope that you find this interesting, and with that, I'm going to hand it over to Kate, who's going to ask me the first question.
Question number 1. What made you want to predict weather?
Yeah, that's a good question. So this will take me back to my childhood. In 1996, in fact, there was a blizzard. I was 5 years old at the time, in kindergarten, and I remember running up to the window and watching the snow pile up. And we didn't have school probably for 2 or 3 days. And it was that storm that triggered me to want to understand the science behind the storm. So way back in 1996, and ever since, I've been learning about the science, predicting the snow, storm after storm. So it goes back many decades, almost over 25 years now, in fact, since that initial spark that led me down this snowy journey.
Cool. So what's your favorite thing to do about your job?
My favorite thing to do about my job? Well, I do a lot at my job. From my day job, what I do in New Zealand, I predict weather, the short-term weather for folks like the fire service, so those that go out and fight wildfires that need to understand things like wind, temperature, if it's going to rain. So that's short-term weather. I also do climate prediction, and this is probably the thing I'm most passionate about, is looking out, a bit of crystal ball gazing into the future, say 2, 3, 4 months out, what the types of weather patterns we might experience in, say, the upcoming winter. So right now the Hudson Valley is going into the winter. A lot of folks are wondering, is the winter going to be bad? So in New Zealand, I do climate prediction, and I look at things in the atmosphere and ocean that help to answer the question, will winter be bad, or will summer be hot? Will there be a lot of hurricanes? So I like to take things a little bit farther than just the weather tomorrow, and actually look deeper and farther out in time. So I would say climate prediction is probably the thing that I'm most passionate about in my job.
Were you nervous to leave everything you knew to go to New Zealand?
Yeah, so when you leave a country, leave home, whether that's to go to college for the first time, to a sleepaway camp, leaving that comfort zone, it's tough, right? It's something that is out of the ordinary. So those things, they are challenging, and they can be a little stressful. You can be a little bit nervous to leave your home behind. So coming to New Zealand, all the way on the other side of the world, you kind of start over. You have to start a new bank account. You don't have any friends. You get off the plane and you're in this brand new country. The money is different. The signs here, it's the metric system. So it says 100 kilometers per hour. So even driving is different. You drive on the right side of the car, on the left side of the road, the opposite to the Hudson Valley. So the United States, for that matter. So it is very different. But over time, like anything else, you get used to it. You get accustomed to these changes, and you learn new things about different cultures, and you're forced to try things that you might not otherwise try. And because of that, I think that you become maybe a more well-rounded person when you see other walks of life. You try different foods. People say things a little bit differently. They spell things a little bit differently, and all of those things, help you to, I think, become, a more well-rounded person. So yes, it's challenging, but there's a lot of positives that can come out of, leaving your comfort zone.
What does it take to become a meteorologist?
Yeah, so you're sitting here in a career day, so some of you might be interested in going into the field of weather and climate prediction. So typically it's a 4-year degree. There are a number of colleges in the Northeast that do offer atmospheric science or meteorology. There is a lot of math that goes into the weather. Physics, chemistry, you'll be learning a lot of equations, equation of motion, ideal gas law, so it gets pretty complicated and fast. So if you are strong in math and you have an interest in science, meteorology may be a field to explore. There's SUNY Oswego, which is where I went. There's Penn State University in State College, Pennsylvania. There's Linden State in Vermont. So there's a couple of different colleges, I believe Oneonta as well. So a couple different colleges that do offer meteorology, but be prepared to do quite a bit of math. As well as science, if you do choose to try out to go into meteorology.
So what advice would you give to someone starting a career?
Yeah, starting a career, it's a pretty big question. I think firstly, you want to go into it with an open mind. What you may think at the beginning of this journey to finding a career, starting a career, may not be the exact direction it goes in. So kind of go with the flow and be open to people's suggestions along the way. But I think ultimately follow your passion, right? Because if you're starting a career where it's something that you're not interested in, or you're doing it for the money, or you're doing it because you know it'll make your mom and dad happy, that may not be the best thing, right? Because if you're not happy, then that's not going to be fun day to day, right? So do something that you enjoy, because if you do something that you enjoy, it probably won't feel like work so much. And you know, being able to go to work every day as a meteorologist, you know, this is what I eat, sleep, you know, breathe, weather prediction. So it actually is a joy to wake up every morning and be able to, you know, go to work, and your hobby is your job and your job is your hobby. So in short, follow your passion, because that's what I think, you know, will keep you happy in the long term.
In saying that, what age did you know what you wanted to do?
Yeah, so it's a bit of an unusual case. I knew from a pretty young age, maybe 5 or so, that I wanted to become a meteorologist, and that's you know, pretty uncommon. You know, usually, you know, you go through school and you may, you know, be a doctor, or be a dentist, be an accountant, and you know, things may change over time. So to have that nailed down from a young age, I think is unusual. So it's you know, it's you know, if you are changing, you know, what you know you're interested in, that's not a bad thing, right? So over time you'll begin to understand more what it is that you might want to specialize in, you might want to go to college to do. So expect that things may evolve as you get older. If you don't know what you want to do right now, that's not a bad thing.
Did you look for any internships or scholarships in high school?
Yeah, so internships and scholarships. In high school, I really strove to do as well academically as I could, being in advanced classes and setting myself up to do well once I got to college. So I did take some college classes in high school, and I was able to go to Oswego with about 20 or so college credits kind of in the bank. So that was helpful. I could have actually finished my college degree a little bit ahead of schedule, but I decided to add a math minor to my meteorology major, so I stayed for the full 4 years. So I did set myself up in high school for success in college, which I would encourage everyone to do if you can. And then once I got to college, I did my first 2 years. It was my summer after my sophomore year of college. And I was applying to internships. That was something that was suggested by my professors to do, and it can give you invaluable experience in the field that you're interested in. So for me, I applied to specifically AccuWeather, which you might have the app on your phone, AccuWeather.com. And I was one of 4 selected in a big pool, a lot of applicants. It can be pretty competitive, which is why, you know, when you do go through high school and especially in college, you want to put the effort in so you can kind of stand out from the crowd and, you know, put your best foot forward. So I was fortunate enough to be selected, and then that actually led me to my job offer after college. So I had that internship, and then 2 years later, I was offered a full-time position at AccuWeather following the conclusion of my studies at Oswego. So it goes to show that those internships can make a big difference when it comes to eventually landing a job.
Were you in honors classes, or what is your favorite subject? What was your favorite subject?
Yeah, so in high school, really starting in middle school, I took academics, day-to-day school, tests, quizzes pretty seriously. I knew that if I wanted to become successful, that I was going to have to study and work hard, and that did lead me on a track in high school to be in advanced or honors classes. I actually went to Valley Central High School, so not too far from you guys in Pine Bush. So I generally achieved pretty good grades overall, and that was due to a combination of hard work and dedication overall. And then because of that, I was offered an academic scholarship at Oswego. So it can save you some money as well. And we know college is not a cheap thing, so it can really help if you do put in the time and effort now. That'll pay off down the road. So I would strongly suggest trying your best at school, and once you get to college, also maintaining those high grades, because if you do get a scholarship, oftentimes you have to stay above a threshold, your grades do, to maintain that scholarship through school. I think the second part of that question was,
what was your favorite subject?
Yeah, so this one's a bit of a curveball because I've talked about science and math quite a bit, but actually my favorite subject, I think, was English, language arts. I actually really like to write. And some might subscribe to my newsletter, or you can follow on Twitter or Facebook. And I just love to write stories, make the weather kind of interesting for the average person, right? We can all look at a chart that has a sun icon and a temperature and understand that might be the forecast, but what does that actually mean to our day-to-day lives, right? So I really enjoyed writing, and going through high school, I began writing my thoughts about the weather online. Now, of course, I have a newsletter, a website, and different communication mediums, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, or TikTok. You can follow me at Ben Noll Weather on all of those, as well as the newsletter that I do week to week. So that's bennollsays.com. So check out my writings. But in fact, yeah, it's not science or math. It was English that was probably my favorite school subject.
So what do your parents think about your job?
Yeah, so my parents, I'm really fortunate to have really supportive parents. They encouraged me to go for whatever it was I wanted to do. So right from the very beginning, I wanted to be a meteorologist, and they were along that journey with me. We would go to when I was younger, we visited the AccuWeather headquarters. Believe it or not, some of the folks that I ended up working with when I was a youngster, probably about your age, I actually visited State College, Pennsylvania, and I met a guy named Elliot Abrams. And Elliot Abrams was a meteorologist at AccuWeather when my dad was a little boy growing up in Pennsylvania. He remembers hearing him on the radio. So here I was, about your age, in AccuWeather, loved the weather, and I took a picture with Elliot. And fast forward all those years, I go back into AccuWeather, and now I'm working with him. So that's comes from the support of my parents, and they took me to the day that I flew from New York to New Zealand. They were there on standing next to me on the security line at the airport. So it is very I'm very grateful for having supportive parents. My mom actually works at Valley Central, so she works in the school, and all of the teachers and the students know that that's my mom. And they often ask her, well, let's go, we can have a snow day tomorrow, and ask her about the weather. So she's very supportive in that regard as well. She doesn't often know the answers to those questions, but she will say, oh, go check his Twitter or go check his Facebook. So yeah, again, very grateful and fortunate to have awesome parents.
That's pretty cool. So now that you're in New Zealand, do you enjoy being in New Zealand?
Yeah, so New Zealand. It's a really pleasant country to live in. It's a place you can get comfortable really quickly. I think a lot of people ask, "Oh, when are you going to come back to New York? You should come back." And New Zealand's a beautiful country. It's very safe. There are amazing things to do and see outdoors if you like hiking, if you like swimming at the beach, if you like going out to brunch, if you like drinking coffee. There's a lot of nice things to do. So New Zealand is a country that I met my wife in, and we've managed to, about 7 years now, have a nice place to live, and it may be a place that we do decide to settle down in. But the beautiful thing is that I can do the weather for anywhere in the world from right here. Nowadays we have internet, computers, social media, and I can just have some big satellites, and be on the Antarctic, ice sheet, and still predict snow days for the Hudson Valley. So New Zealand is an awesome place, and if you do have the opportunity to travel worldwide, whether it's to New Zealand or somewhere else, take up that opportunity, because it is you will learn a lot about yourself and about others if you do.
If you didn't become a meteorologist, what would you be?
Oh, if I didn't become a meteorologist, I'd actually probably be like gold mining in Alaska. I have some interesting interest. I love basketball. I like eating a lot, so I can eat like an entire large pizza, probably like 10 or 12 slices in a sitting. So I could probably do a couple of like eating contests, maybe professional eating, hot dogs. But gold mining, because the streams in New Zealand, you can actually bring a pan and put some rocks in, some stones from the bottom of the stream, kind of look in certain places and actually find gold. And I found gold in New Zealand. Believe it or not, that would be probably one of the leading possibilities. I actually also really like computer programming. It's kind of a budding interest of mine. It really helps making those weather maps that you might see on my Twitter. So things like Python, if you are going to be going into a science or kind of math-based field, computer programming is pretty much something that's very important to, say, parse or synthesize big data sets that we are getting accustomed to using in the year 2022. So a combination of all of those things probably, but meteorology is my true number one passion.
What do you do in your spare time, though?
Yeah. So as I mentioned in the last answer, I do like playing basketball, and I'm a big Brooklyn Nets fan. I like Seth Curry and Steph Curry, who might know from shooting threes. So I like taking really long basketball shots, going to the gym, spending time with my wife Katie, talking to my family on FaceTime, coding weather maps. In my spare time, I'm doing weather. In my work time, I'm doing weather. So it's kind of all overlaps. I enjoy playing with my drone. I like shooting scenes of the amazing scenery here in New Zealand, taking pictures, photographs, and traveling around as well. So yeah, those. New Zealand is a great place to do those types of things. So I'm fortunate to be here.
What colleges offer meteorology as a major? I think you mentioned this earlier already.
Yeah, so there's a couple of colleges in the Northeast and across the U.S., and I don't know them all at the top of my head, but you have SUNY Oswego, you have Penn State University, you have Linden State, you have Millersville, which is in Pennsylvania. There is a college on Long Island as well that offers meteorology. Oneonta, Florida State, Oklahoma State, I think Valparaiso in Indiana. So there's a couple of San Jose State Washington State. So there you go. I mean, there's a bunch. If you do a Google search, you'll be able to find it. But there are quite a few, a number of schools that do offer it in the U.S. And we're actually really lucky because the U.S. has whatever, maybe a dozen or 2 dozen schools that offer meteorology. But in other parts of the world, that may not be the case. Here in New Zealand, we didn't have any until just a few years ago. So that's why they were actually bringing meteorologists in from places like the United States or Canada or the United Kingdom to be meteorologists in New Zealand. Just recently, as of about 2 years ago, they now offer it as an undergrad, but just one university does. So we're fortunate in the U.S. where we have 12 to 24 different schools that do offer it.
Were you academically prepared for your job?
Yeah, so I was quite lucky to have awesome teachers at Valley Central over my years there, as well as once I got to college. I felt that I was well prepared to take the leap, not just from, say, middle school to high school, but then from high school to college. And then once I got to college, surrounding myself with other students who were really, really smart, really intelligent, and learning from them, and they could learn from you, and then, going to talk to your teacher or your professor in their, office hours, so kind of outside of class. All of those things can help you to basically be better prepared for being in the real world. And one other thing that I really learned is that if you can teach something to another person, then chances are you have mastered that topic. So when I was a junior and senior at college, I tutored some younger students on certain topics. So that helped to really kind of refine my skills and craft, and further prepare me to go into the workforce.
So last question, would you recommend studying one thing or more than one?
Yeah, so one thing or more than one. Probably not the answer you want to hear, maybe, but I would say as many different topics as you can, because being well-rounded in the world today, you may think your career or your path is going in a certain direction. Something may happen and your path may deviate. And you may go down the path less traveled, right? And the more kind of things that you have learned along your journey will give you more opportunities. So I majored in meteorology. I had a minor in math. If I could wind back the clock, I'd probably have done a minor in computer programming, just because I know that is in science fields today very, very important to know, because we live in a world that there's massive amounts of data. So yeah, the answer would be probably as much as you can reasonably achieve. So consider maybe double major or a major and a minor, because those extra experiences will go a long way in helping you once you do start your career. All right, is that the end of the questions?
Yeah, that's the end of the questions.
Do you have any questions?
No, I'm all good. Thank you.
Okay.
I can ask you on my spare time.
All right, thank you. So thanks to Katie, and thanks to you guys for tuning in. Now, there are a couple of other videos I prepared for you today, so you'll probably be seeing, you may have already seen one, and you might be seeing one more. I hope you don't hear the sirens outside. Just to let you know, I am filming this in September, so it's a little bit ahead of schedule for you guys. Right now, we are watching Hurricane Ian in the Gulf of Mexico. It's headed toward Florida. So we'll see what that storm brings. That's what I've got on my computer just off to the side. And I'm working on the Hudson Valley Winter Outlook. And by the time you guys are sitting, the Outlook will have been released. And who knows, already the third week of November, maybe you guys already had a little bit of snow. Even though New Zealand is, we're about 7, depending on the time of year, 16 to 18 hours ahead of the Hudson Valley. So you guys are watching this one day, but in fact in New Zealand it's probably already the next day. And I often get asked, if I can basically predict the future, because I'm already experiencing the next day, right? So I should know what the weather the Hudson Valley is going to have, but unfortunately it doesn't work that way. But at any rate, I hope that you guys enjoyed listening to this interview today. I hope that you have a fantastic career day. And if you do have any further questions, if you are going to go into the field of meteorology in a couple of years, please do reach out. I am more than happy to help and provide some insights where I can. But in the meantime, I hope you guys have an awesome winter and get lots of snow days. All right, see ya. Take care.